There was fear. There was crying, whispering, not knowing. We stood with our arms above our heads. We relieved ourselves where we stood. Our destination and our fate was unknown. I'm Bailey, and I will be teaching you about the boxcar horrors of the Holocaust. I chose this topic because I wanted to find out how the Jews were treated on their way to extermination camps. The railroads were essential to the killing process. People that died in the boxcars on the way to extermination camps were left to rot. The Nazi Party won a majority in the 1932 election. As the leader of the Nazi Party, Hitler was appointed to the position of Chancellor in January 1933. After President Hindenburg died in 1934, Hitler took over completely and declared himself leader of Germany. The Holocaust was the systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of approximately 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its collaborators. Holocaust is a word of Greek origin meaning sacrifice by fire. The Nazis, who came to power in Germany in January 1933, believed that Germans were racially superior and that Jews, deemed inferior, were a threat to the so-called German racial community. In 1933, the Jewish population of Europe stood at over 9 million. Most European Jews lived in countries that Nazi Germany would occupy or influence during World War II. By 1945, the Germans and their collaborators killed nearly 2 out of every 3 European Jews as part of the final solution, the Nazi policy to murder the Jews of Europe. They built extermination or concentration camps for the Jews. Most of the Jews were taken to the extermination camps in boxcars. These were the 6 most common extermination camps. The boxcars, made to carry 40 people, were now carrying 90 to 140 Jews. The floors of the boxcar were made of limestone to burn the prisoners' feet. The only light came from a barred window. If Jews were to open the window to ask for food, they would be answered with a bullet. For the dead and the living, we must bear witness. Monsters exist, but they are too few in number to be truly dangerous. More dangerous is the government, ready to believe and act without asking questions. If we bear all this suffering, and if there are still Jews left when it is over, then Jews, instead of being doomed, will be held up as an example. Thou shalt not be a victim, thou shalt not be a perpetrator, but above all, thou shalt not be a bystander. The transports used to come in during the night, but there were some in the daytime too. When you heard that whistle from the commandant of the camp that the transport was coming in, the men in the camp had to get ready to unload the people. So that whistle was like somebody would tear out your insides. You knew, here are the people, children, our elder people who never did anything wrong in their life, and they're going to go, and you cannot say, you cannot resist, you cannot. Inside it built up that revenge, and that resentment, and that anger, and that pain. Sometimes they came in during the day, and sometimes so many came that they could not handle it. They told them that they are going to work, so it just seemed to them to be the truth, and that was hard. It was hard. You walk by, and you look at that face, and you know in a half an hour it won't be there, and you can't even tell. You just put on a smile, your best face. It hurt. It was very hard. When I had to work near the railroad tracks, a transport came, and they sent us all to the compound, except for those who worked with the unloading of the people. A few times we went to clean the houses of the SS, and there wasn't enough time to run back. So they would lock us in, or we knew ourselves we were not supposed to walk out and watch it. And sometimes we saw the people the way they were delivered. Before they're dead, they tortured them before they were dead. We saw them leaving and screaming, and children crying, and elderly people, and I could not explain the feeling that I had, and I wondered why, just why. That why was such a big question, and nobody could answer it. They brought a transport, so they took me to clean up the living quarters of the SS, and some of the SS people had their windows facing the railroad track. When I was there cleaning with another girl, the whistle blew that a train was coming, and so we knew we have to remain there. We cannot go out, and the transport came in, and everything went very fast. The load, unloading of the people, and a mother left a baby, I don't know for what reason, in the boxcar. Frenzel, who was at that time in charge of the transport, grabbed that little baby and smashed the skull against the boxcar, and they just threw it in like a dead rat, and that I just cannot forget. I was at this trial about 4 times, and I told him what he did. He didn't deny it. He said he followed orders, and this I cannot forget. Why kill that child in such a miserable way? Why? Why? It was a human being. We are alive. We are human, with good and bad in us. That's all we know for sure. We can't create a new species or a new world. That's been done. Now we have to live within those boundaries. What are our choices? We can complain and curse and change nothing. We can choose evil like our enemies have done and create a world based on hate. Or we can try to make things better. Remember this if you can remember nothing else. To forget a Holocaust is to kill twice.